All right, so now let's move on to our art talk. It's art talk number 56 on French poster art, and Sarah and Toulouse-Lautrec. Sarah, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Today will definitely be a lesson in my French. We have lots of French names to pronounce, French places, so let's get started. Okay, so the full name of our artist this week, here I go, is Henri-Marie Raymond de Toulouse-Lautrec Montfat. And the long length of his name reflects the fact that he was a member of an aristocratic family having relation to the Count of Toulouse, the Vicomte de Lautrec, and the Viscount of Montfat. He was the eldest son with one brother who died during childhood. And after the death of his brother, his parents separated and he was raised by a nanny. So Henri's parents were actually first cousins and his grandmothers were sisters. So this could be the reason for his many health issues. He broke both of his femurs as a child and it actually stunted his growth. He grew an adult-sized torso, but his legs stayed child size. He walked with a cane and in considerable pain for the rest of his life. And physically unable to participate in many activities enjoyed by boys his age, Toulouse-Lautrec immersed himself in art. He became a prominent post-impressionist painter, Art Nouveau illustrator, and lithographer, and through his works recorded many details of the late 19th century bohemian lifestyle in Paris. He was highly self-conscious of his appearance and rarely drew or painted himself, but we can see here that he drew a caricature of himself at the age of 21 in sort of an animalistic manner. And the image on the far right is actually titled Mr. Toulouse Paints Mr. Lautrec, which I think is kind of cheeky and fun. He did attend the École des Beaux-Arts, but found more solace and inspiration from studying at smaller studios that fostered a more unorthodox training. He lived in the Montmartre area of Paris, which at the time was the epicenter of French post-impressionism and the bohemian art scene and culture. And he went wild at the time and frequented the different cabarets and brothels. When the Moulin Rouge opened, he was asked to design the posters for it. And this is one of the posters he did for the Moulin Rouge. And at the time, many other artists thought that taking this kind of work was inferior or inauthentic, but Toulouse-Lautrec didn't agree and actually is credited with turning advertising into an art form. Here we can see the popular new dance move at the time called the can-can. Originally danced by couples, it's now traditionally associated with a chorus line of female dancers. The main features of the dance are the vigorous manipulation of skirts and petticoats, as we can see here in this poster, along with high kicks, splits, and cartwheels. The dance was considered very scandalous, and for a while there were attempts to suppress it. And this may have been partly because in the 19th century, women wore pantalettes, which were kind of like bloomers, and the high kicks were intentionally revealing. So here are some posters that Toulouse-Lautrec did of Aristide Bruant. They have some similarities, the two men, in that they both came from bourgeois upbringings and they both found their way to Montmartre. Bruant was a cabaret singer, comedian, and nightclub owner who's credited with the genre of music called chanson réaliste, which laments on the lives and struggles of the working class. And Bruant eventually opened his own nightclub called Le Mirliton. This is really a lesson in my French pronunciation this week. Le Mirliton, which you can see Henri did a poster for on the right. Japanisme was becoming a popular movement in Paris and inspired Toulouse-Lautrec in his style as well as the larger culture of Bohemian Paris. Divan Japonais was a theater and cafe at the time that Toulouse-Lautrec was hired to create a poster for. And on the right is a poster of Jane Avril, who was a close friend of Toulouse-Lautrec and a dancer for the Moulin Rouge. She helped popularize the can-can dance and was featured in his can-can poster that we just saw. And she actually has a really interesting story that I went into a bit of a rabbit hole when doing my research for this week. But she was actually born with St. Vitus's dance, which is a movement disorder that causes tics and thrashing of the limbs. So dance for her was almost a cure or a remedy for her disorder. So this is one of his paintings as opposed to a poster. Toulouse-Lautrec is classified as a post-impressionist, as I mentioned, which was an art movement that developed roughly between 1886 and 1905. Post-impressionism emerged as a reaction against impressionists' concern for the naturalistic depiction of light and color. So it occurred between the last impressionist exhibit and the beginning of Fauvism, which, if you remember, artists like Matisse uses very non-realistic bright colors. So post-impressionism is kind of a bridge between the two. So we can see here with the vibrant yellow, it's more of an enhanced color, but not totally unrealistic of a color. I think if this were a Fauvist painting, it could be, bright purple or something. So here's another painting, and it's called La Gitane Riche Peint. And again, we can see the influence of Japanese woodblock prints that were popular at the time. This one is a bit more simple in terms of the two people in the painting. There's not a ton of detail in their faces and clothes, but Toulouse-Lautrec was more interested in capturing the movement of the figures rather than the detail about them. La Vache Enragée, or the Enraged Bull, was created for the journal, also titled La Vache Enragée, in 1896. And it was created to promote the Promenade de la Vache Enragée, which was a carnival procession through Montmartre, Paris, held in 1896 and 97. And the carnival was actually organized by the artists of Montmartre during the famed Carnival de Paris as part of, it was also known as the Fat Cow Carnival. So this poster depicts a man being chased down the street by an angry bull whilst holding his umbrella. And this piece has been widely exhibited, including the Metropolitan Museum in New York, the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, and is now currently at the Art Institute of Chicago. So more than simply a brilliant advertiser and artist, Toulouse-Lautrec was an important informal visual historian of urban life in Belle Epoque Paris. The film Moulin Rouge and other period pieces based on the Belle Epoque are heavily informed by his posters, prints, and paintings. And these posters, continue to be popular even today. And as well, Toulouse-Lautrec's celebration of consumer culture and iconic popular advertisements really paved the way for even pop art to emerge many, many years later. In a career of less than 20 years, Toulouse-Lautrec created 737 canvas paintings, 275 watercolors, 363 prints and posters, and over 5,000 drawings. Quite the career for such a young artist. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Amazing. So this is really kind of the very early years of what we consider modern art, right? And
right,
so
exactly.
I think if my math is correct, that's over 70 pieces of art each year. He lived until only 39.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an incredible accomplishment and a big body of work.
It is. And I think kind of part of an inspiration to many artists today who consider themselves as graphic artists, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The poster that he did for Moulin Rouge is legendary. I mean, it's I think Sarah said in her presentation, it's it's really what inspired modern marketing and marketing type approaches. And it's actually a little bit nearer dear in my heart. For those of you who've seen my son on these town halls, Justin's a Broadway dancer, and he's just booked a national tour for Moulin Rouge, and he'll be performing over the next year or so doing that throughout the U.S. So we're very excited for him. He'll be here in LA sometime next summer.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting tickets to see him. And I did also want to, so that's great news, actually.
Yeah, we're very excited for him.
Yeah. And so also want to mention Jules Chouret, who I think you showed in one of your slides there. Also another incredible post-impressionistic graphic artist. I think we're going to cover him in one of our future art talks.
Yeah.
And also very closely aligned, I think Jules Chouret has every copy of one of one of Lautrec's pieces of art. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be a very expensive
state.
for. Yeah. No
incredible
kidding.
state. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
All right. So hey, thank you very much, Sarah. That was fascinating.